You're listening to the Health Courage Collective podcast, episode 45, Vegas Getaway. Welcome to the Health Courage Collective podcast, the show for women who are too busy to slog through hours of generalized, inapplicable, and often contradictory health information, but too smart to ignore that a few minutes of focused attention now can prevent years of suffering in the future. I'm your host, Christina Hackett, a pharmacist who doesn't want you to live on prescriptions, a certified coach specifically trained to maximize your potential, and a compulsive learner obsessed with preventative, cutting-edge, holistic, and integrative medicine. I'm on a mission to increase your physical and mental resilience so you can fearlessly look forward to your next 40-plus limitless years. Your time is now. Let's go. Hey there, do you have a great idea for a topic I should cover on the podcast? I would love to hear from you. Click the link in the show notes and tell me what you think I should talk about next. Hey, how are you today? I hope you're doing great and that you had a relaxing Mother's Day. Have you been getting clear about the ultimate game you're playing? I really do think that a big part of happiness is making some kind of progress, even in tiny ways, toward what you really want. Just feeling like you're moving in the right direction is so deeply satisfying. Hard to do if you don't know exactly what it is that you really want, or if you don't have any way to gauge whether you're getting closer or farther away. Today, I thought you deserved, I know you deserve a little vacation. Get ready for your mini Vegas getaway. Does that sound fun to you? It only does to me when we're talking about the Vegas spelled the way I have it in the title of this episode. So hopefully you're not too disappointed that we're not going to go get lost in a stale, cigarette-smelling casino maze or have lines of people trying to hand us cards and flyers that we do not want to accept. We're going to talk about a more important Vegas, your vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is your 10th cranial nerve. Did you ever learn that mnemonic on old Olympus's towering top something? I don't remember it anymore, but it was to remember the 12 cranial nerves in order. Obviously, it didn't work long term for me, but the vagus nerve is number 10. The name means wanderer, like vagabond, because the vagus nerve supplies nerves to the mouth, heart, respiratory system, gastrointestinal tract, and lower abdomen. The vagus nerve influences a lot, including appetite, speech, and respiratory rate, among tons of other things. If you remember, there are efferent nerve fibers that send signals from the brain to the body, and afferent nerve fibers that send messages from the body to the brain. Despite what we're often conditioned to believe, communication is very much two-way, which is why I often repeat myself saying that your physiology affects your psychology. The vagus nerve is unique in that 80 to 90% of the vagus nerve fibers are afferent communication. So a body to brain information superhighway. If you remember, there are the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic system. The sympathetic is the fight or flight system and the parasympathetic is the rest and digest system. Ideally, those two branches of the nervous system work in balance and help us think and eat and digest and not get killed. Our smart body actively works to maintain homeostasis of these two systems so that our body can thrive. We need fight or flight activity sometimes, but stress responses should be self-limiting. When we have too much stress or stress that lasts for too long, we start to get chronic inflammation. We've talked about chronic inflammation and we know that we don't want it, even at low levels. It ages us more quickly and increases our likelihood for all of the chronic diseases of aging. Plus, it suppresses our immune function. Interesting research on both rats and humans has shown that inflammation can be significantly reduced just by stimulation of the vagus nerve. Like electronic implants in humans that stimulate the vagus nerve have caused complete remission of rheumatoid arthritis, an inflammatory condition with no cure. The vagus nerve's neurotransmitter, which was initially named Vagus Stuff, which I think is cute, and I like better than its new name, acetylcholine, blocks the release of inflammatory cytokines. Okay, so here's something cool. When you have a lot of vagus getaways, so to speak, you actually train your vagus nerve. It gets stronger and more resilient, like you buff it up. Too bad you can't see it. Maybe people will care about it more. Like, there's a high percentage of women at the gym, at least the one that I go to, who do a lot of glute exercises. Like, some of them, I think it's all they ever do, for hours. That and checking in the mirror to make sure they're seeing the results from all those glute exercises. I categorize them in my head as those girls, the glute girls. There are also a lot of selfies being taken. And weird leggings with strategically placed ruching and compression. Have you seen these? What is happening? Anyhow, kudos to them and their round glutes. But what if you could see someone's vagal strength? It's called vagal tone. I would definitely be more impressed by someone with strong vagal tone. It's a marker for long-term health, low inflammation, good immune function, and a stable mental outlook. What could be sexier than that? I'm laughing, but I'm also completely serious here. It is very attractive. While we can't see it, we've talked about one of the ways to measure vagal tone before. Do you remember? It was episode 23 about heart rate variability. Go back and listen to that episode if you want to know more about what heart rate variability is. Low heart rate variability is associated with poor health and a lower life expectancy. It's one of the best predictors of an upcoming sports injury. Studies have shown that heart rate variability is passed on from mother to child. Super interesting. But it's also entirely possible to build better vagal tone and correspondingly better heart rate variability. It's not just about a higher number, it's a little more nuanced than that. That part's always hard to remember because one of the things I fill out on my personal optimized scorecard every morning is my HRV from the night before, and I'm super proud of myself when it's high. I get that score from my Oura Ring. We've talked before about Patrick McEwen and his book, The Oxygen Advantage. In another one of his books called The Breathing Cure, he says, quote, HRV is a reliable measure of how well the vagus nerve is working. That is, a vagal tone. Scientists believe that vagal tone in the heart forms some of the connections between breathing and emotion. It is influenced by the breath and is essential to the stimulation of the vagus nerve, which is closely tied to aspects of human connection such as emotional regulation, reactivity, expression, empathy, and attachment. At the other end of the emotional spectrum, dysfunction of the nervous system is common to people suffering from anxiety, depression, PTSD, panic disorder, and other stress-related mental and physical conditions. Parallels have been found between vagal tone and cognitive functions such as visual recognition, memory, and alertness. HRV, used as a measure of vagal tone, provides doctors with a way to physically quantify stress and vulnerability to stress. That means that stress can be defined by its effect on the function of systems like the heart, rather than just on the way a challenging life event makes you feel. End quote. Can you see why you want a lot of Vegas getaways to train your body to have good vagal tone? More emotional regulation, expression, and empathy. More memory and alertness, and less anxiety, depression, and inflammation. Good HRV also enhances athletic performance and appropriate blood pressure, and heart health in general. Vagal tone is essentially tied to how adaptable your body is. The higher your vagal tone, the more agile your body is at adapting to changes. This is a good thing. Barbara Fredrickson wrote an awesome book called Love 2.0. She calls it The New Science of Love, and is the one who defines love as micro moments of positivity resonance, which I've mentioned before. She also says that love is our supreme emotion that influences everything we feel, think, do, and become, and that loving sets us on a path to more health, happiness, and wisdom. Yes, please, I'll take an extra order of each of those. I love listening to books on Audible, and a lot of times I remember where I was and what I was doing when I listened to the best parts of them. For this book, I was making my family listen to it with me as we were driving Highway 101 in Olympic National Park in Washington. This is Twilight Vampire Country. We stopped in Forks and Port Angeles and the Quinault Indian Reservation, etc. And while we did, we listened to Love 2.0 by Barbara Fredrickson. My boys were not super into it, but more so than they would have been if I had been making them listen to Twilight. And that's only Love 1.0 anyway. I remember her saying this and thinking it was so good. Quote, People with higher vagal tone, science has shown, are more flexible across a whole host of domains: physical, mental, and social. They simply adapt better to their ever-shifting circumstances, albeit completely at non-conscious levels. Physically, they regulate their internal bodily processes more efficiently, like their glucose levels and inflammation. Mentally, they're better able to regulate their attention and emotions, even their behavior. Socially, they're especially skillful in navigating interpersonal interactions and in forging positive connections with others. By definition, then, they experience more micro moments of love. It's as though the agility of the conduit between the brain and the heart, as reflected in their high vagal tone, allows them to be exquisitely agile, attuned, and flexible as they navigate the ups and downs of day-to-day life and social exchanges. High vagal tone, then, can be taken as high loving potential. End quote. Maybe that's why I was primed to think of high vagal tone as attractive. High loving potential is definitely sexier than crazy butt-shaping workout clothes. So while vagal tone is about getting out of fight or flight into rest and digest, it's also so much more than just not being uptight. Yes, it can help you get out of Stressville, which is awesome, but even if, like me, you don't really have Calgon take me away moments, there's so much more to be gained by having good vagal tone. Being able to be more physically, mentally, and socially effective is awesome. Studies have shown increases in academic performance, working memory, and decision-making when the vagus nerve is stimulated. A depletion in vagus stuff, or acetylcholine, is associated with Alzheimer's disease. Vagal stimulation improves our blood pressure, heart health, immune health, and inflammation. In this modern world of high inputs and high drama, we can and should stimulate the vagus nerve on a regular basis to buff up our vagal tone. So, how do we do that aside from sticking electrodes into our body? You use the parts of your body that send afferent signals back to your brain from your body via the vagus nerve. Humming, laughing, and singing help stimulate the vagus nerve by using the vocal cords. So does immersing your face in cold water or splashing cold water on the back of your neck. People and babies with more expressive faces have higher heart rate variability. Interestingly, Botox works by inhibiting the neurotransmitter acetylcholine. The main way to increase vagal stimulation is using your diaphragm. Breathing more slowly and with a longer exhale stimulates the vagus nerve. Using the diaphragm to breathe and holding the breath after an exhale further increases vagal stimulation. Diaphragmatic breathing means that when you inhale, your lower ribs stay low, expanding only laterally, with the abdomen expanding and not the chest. The optimal breathing rate for vagal stimulation is 6 breaths per minute. This is the magic number, 6 breaths per minute. In fact, the most important predictor of a heart attack in a hospital ward is a respiratory rate of more than 27 breaths per minute, a more accurate measure of at-risk patients than other vital signs. Remember, healthy people breathe gently, quietly, calmly, and effortlessly with a natural pause on the exhalation. And more importantly, you breathe through your nose. Regular practice is easy and super simple, but can have a big impact on your short-term and long-term health, your sports performance, and even your ability to love. If you want to get really into breathing exercises, I highly suggest Patrick McEwen's work. I'll put some links in the show notes. You can also listen to episodes 11 and 13, where we talk all about breathing. Remember, you want to increase your tolerance to CO2. You can do this through breath hold exercises. You can use slow breathing exercises to help you in moments of acute stress. Before they get their trident, prospective Navy SEALs learn how to show up with the front sight focus of a SEAL by controlling their mind and body via controlling their breathing. It's powerful. Anytime you feel your body start to dip into fight or flight, you can use slow diaphragmatic breathing at 6 breaths per minute to start tipping the balance back to Relaxationville. Awesome. But it doesn't stop there. Having a regular breathing practice is what buffs up your sexy vagal tone brawn. How could you incorporate this into your day? It doesn't have to take a long time or be something else you have to add to your already too long to-do list. You can think of how this would fit into your life the best. It could be during your meditation practice. It could be your meditation practice. I like breathing in to a count of 5, holding for a count of 1, and out to a count of 7. This works for me and may or may not work best for you, but you want to be getting pretty close to 6 breaths per minute. I like to do 10 breaths like that every night while I lie down and go to sleep. I also do that if I get woken up in the middle of the night. It's been windy outside lately, which wakes me up, so I've gotten more deliberate breathing in the past few nights. I can actually see the HRV spikes on my Oura Ring graph at the times that I did my breathing pattern during the night. It's pretty interesting. I also like to do these breaths several times throughout the day whenever it occurs to me. It might be while I'm on hold on the phone at work, waiting in line at the store, putting on my seatbelt in my car to drive home, or stirring a pot while I'm making dinner. When could you incorporate some purposeful breaths into your day? How will you remember to do it? Can you find an anchor to trigger you to do your breaths? You can also try some of the other ways to stimulate your vagus nerve. Singing regularly, dousing your face with cold water. I challenged you a while back to try 5 to 10 seconds of cold water directed at your face, neck, and chest at the end of your shower. Did you try it? It would apply in this case too. 2 birds, 1 stone. Hormesis plus vagal tone. You eventually want to work up to 30 to 60 seconds of cold. I've been doing 30 seconds of ice cold at the end of every shower for, 2 years or so. And I just heard the other day that finishing with 60 seconds of cold water is called a James Bond shower. Wait a minute. I'm going to have to change because there's no way James Bond is cooler than me, right? Making these little tweaks to intentionally stimulate your 10th cranial nerve are completely free, and the return on investment is fantastic. You don't want to miss this opportunity. Greater resilience in the face of all stressors. Greater adaptability to whatever circumstances arise. Better emotional and social interactions. Lower inflammation. Better heart and brain function, and less susceptibility to disease. This is a way better Vegas getaway than a trip to a casino, or a Celine Dion concert, or even Mount Midoriyama, which I totally love. Thank you for taking a few minutes to learn about how your vagus nerve can increase your health and longevity. Let's finish it up with 6 breaths per minute for 1 minute, and you can see how you feel. Ready? In, 2, 3, 4, 5, pause, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, pause. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, pause, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, pause. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, pause, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, pause. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5, pause, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, pause. Last breath in, 2, 3, 4, 5, pause, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, pause. Great job. Remember, if you're listening to this in May of 2022 and you are up for getting more intentional with up-leveling your health behavior and actually moving from theory to practice with personal support and accountability, please put your name on the interest list and become a founding member of my Health Courage program for a ridiculously low price. It's going to be helpful, but also really fun. Next week, we're going to talk about what science has proven is the most effective way to change your behavior. Until then, invest a few minutes today in your personal Vegas jackpot, and don't be normal. Thank you so much for tuning into the Health Courage Collective podcast. I am truly honored that you have paid me the enormous compliment of your time and attention. I would be so grateful if you would share this podcast with someone you know and subscribe so you never miss an episode. This podcast is for entertainment and information purposes only. Statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Christina Hackett and producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse events by use of information contained herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.